There's a famous joke that goes like this. A man goes to the doctor. The doctor asks what's wrong with him. The man tells the doctor that he's depressed. He tells him that he thinks the whole world is cruel and he feels all alone. The man feels like his future is uncertain and he doesn't know what to do with his life. The doctor says, the solution is simple. There's a great clown in town tonight. You should see him. That should lift your spirits. The man starts to bawl, tears running down his face. But doc, he says, I am the clown. That's it. It's a really funny joke. In order to let you all behind the curtain, I'm going to reveal some privileged information. I wrote this entire talk in the span of a day or so in the middle of August. Because of this, I've made an attempt to predict the day of October 17th. Let's see what I got right. It's overcast and too cold. Mr. Conrad probably played something sick on the organ. Thank you, Mr. Conrad. The greatest advisor in the school is here today. We're either excited to hear my talk or, let's be honest, no one's that excited. There's one thing I can guarantee about the day in which I deliver this talk. It certainly will not be without humor. Right now, we sit in a building that's intimidating, to say the least. It has an important history of worship and piety. There are noteworthy names on the walls, and events of great import likely happened right where I stand. In fact, when I worked at Hill for the reunion event last summer, someone from the class of 1972 remarked that he once attended a speech here that was focused entirely on fire and brimstone. That's right. A faculty member came up to this very pulpit and warned the students of the dire consequences of their sins. If I could summarize the mood of the chapel, I would do it with one word: reverent. You shouldn't go about disrespecting a place like this. There's a sacredness specific to the chapel that you can't find anywhere else on this campus. Casually, I find myself and others taking somewhat hushed tones in this room, simply because of its appearance. Even when I'm by myself here, I can't help but feel the same way I did when I was a little kid going to church on Sunday morning. I mean, there's an organ and stained glass windows surrounding us. I know it's different, but I struggle to shake that image from my mind. Which is why I thought today would be the perfect setting to discuss a topic important to me and the larger Hill community. It's something that isn't necessarily appreciated in an explicit sense. Today, I want to talk about irreverence, and by that I mean the value of joking around. In elementary and middle school, I definitely wouldn't have considered myself cool. I was, in simple terms, a nerd. I mean, look at me. But I did have one thing: the ability to make a joke. In a short amount of time, humorous rebuttals and self-deprecation became my go-to in social situations. See, I know how embarrassing I am. Look at me, I'm the silly guy. I learned to take great pleasure in poking fun at all sorts of topics, which had its own benefits and dangers. What strengthened this interest even more was the influence of professional comedians shown to me by my father. I can remember him playing some album in the car or showing me clips of a random stand-up to the tune of "Don't Tell Your Mother." My exposure started out semi-family friendly and eventually morphed into me quoting jokes I'm afraid I can't repeat in front of the entire school. From that point on, I was totally obsessed. I loved it all. The idea that some people could make a living simply standing in front of a crowd and getting people to laugh was incredible. I had learned an important truth at that point. Humor was essential. I was totally entranced by a world of setups and punchlines, of poking fun at situations in which I felt a sense of anxiety. For me, tension and hard times are easily diffused by a quick, lighthearted jab at whatever was giving me grief. Laughter has a medicinal value, and it's crucial that we each acknowledge that as we go about our typically stressful lives here. Which is why, this is where we get into the focus of my main time here. The idea that humor can act as a coping mechanism of sorts. That sad clown from the beginning is a real thing. the person who tries to make others feel good when they themselves aren't in the best headspace. I know I have certainly been a sad clown from time to time, and I know others have felt the same way. A good sense of humor has a positive effect on those around you, but there's the strong possibility that the person making the jokes isn't exactly treating themselves the right way. So that's my goal today, to advocate for an outright acceptance of humor in this community, but to also assure you all that we should care for ourselves and each other in this endeavor. I cannot begin to describe every single time I have used humor as a healthy way to feel better about my situation, but I certainly can try to name a few examples. For instance, there will be plenty of times each year where some teacher, not naming names, will assign my friends and I with work we find difficult or strenuous. And our typical coping mechanism is just joking around about whatever it is. What could be times of stress and pressing anxiety instead become opportunities for a group of people to go back and forth, poking fun at what has been given to us. We're not joking around with cruel intent, but rather as a way to take the difficult factors we receive on a daily basis and form them into something positive. It's irreverence. We're taking the things that should be considered serious and making fun of them in a way that helps us feel better. This can be seen no better than in my experience with a musical I did last year by the name of A Funny Thing That Happened on the Way to the Forum. For those of you unaware, this musical was student-run, meaning that everything from the directing to the costumes to the set design was done entirely by students. The fact that we were able to get this entire show on its feet by the spring of last year is an incredible accomplishment. And as luck would have it, I was cast as the lead role. But let you all in on a little secret. I did not have the best experience while staging and learning the show. I love my fellow performers, and the material itself was great. I just found myself struggling to enjoy rehearsal as it consumed my remaining free time. I felt awful for a majority of the rehearsal process. On top of that, I found myself constantly doubting my own abilities as a performer. Who was I to play this character? I couldn't sing those songs. The audience is going to hate me when I'm on stage. I had entered a deeply toxic state of self-loathing. The day of the show, I was motivated to just give up on everything. What else was I supposed to do? I was going to go up in front of hundreds of people and make a total fool of myself. And for what? I just didn't know what to do. I started calling friends and family and asking them not to go. When you're placed in a situation like that, it can feel like you have no option other than quitting it all. But in the hour before the show, I came to a conclusion that helped me see a way to enjoy myself despite how I was feeling initially. I realized that I could turn this whole experience into a joke of sorts. I wasn't some regular performer going up there. I had the opportunity to goof off and enjoy myself with people I love on stage. And that's exactly what I did. For instance, take one of the many jokes my character made in the show. In the process of rehearsing the show, we were forced to cut a song for the sake of convenience. The only issue is that this song was very important in terms of the overall plot. To solve this, I chose to make the cut song a recurring joke over the course of the performance. Imagine me looking directly into the audience and saying something like, "This part of the show would have made sense, but we cut a song." I lost myself in the performance and did what I would consider to be good work. And if you have the chance, please come see more excellent work by the Ellis Theater Guild this fall. Sweeney Todd. Tickets are available now. That student-run musical could have been the thing to essentially ruin my mental state and the experience as a whole. Instead, I let myself make jokes and simply enjoy myself. I didn't let myself become the sad clown, but I instead was able to access my sense of humor and utilize it in a healthy way. Although it may sound strange to hear at a place like this, active irreverence is a positive force to have in one's life, especially here at Hill. More than anywhere else, we are inundated by things that have the potential to drive us off the edge. Constant deadlines and tough assignments are enough to upset anyone here. So my not really revelatory suggestion when we start to feel this way is to use these moments as inspiration for really good jokes. It's important to utilize this sense of humor in a way that makes you feel good and doesn't contribute to becoming the sad clown. It's really easy to allow feelings such as anxiety to take control of your daily life and actively destroy however you're feeling in the moment. Some people truly cannot function when affected by such feelings. If one can instead react with an irreverent attitude, they can feel ready for whatever comes at them next. So my suggestion here is this: for each member of the community, for each member of the community to become just a little more irreverent in their daily lives here at Hill. Make this community a better place by acting just a little less serious. As Shakespeare once wrote, brevity is the soul of wit. So let's call it here. To end this talk, I would like to acknowledge my friends and family who have made me who I am today. But more importantly, I would like to thank my 10 professional writers who actually wrote a majority of my talk. If you enjoyed it, please thank them.